What up, everybody? Welcome to Real Talks. I'm Marty O'Connor, and this is my boy,
Sonny Casebound.
The show doesn't work out. Anyways. What it do, Will World? Back at it again. I am Marty O'Connor alongside my boy,
Sonny Casebound.
We have a very special guest today. We're talking about an entirely different subject that we haven't touched on, and I couldn't be more excited to have Destiney Wendt here.
Thank
Everyone
you guys.
say what up. And before we go into anything else, can you just flash up your left hand for us? She married, guys. So, take it easy in the comments.
Let's go ahead and pause the show right now. I'm going to leave. I'm going to exit right. You can just handle this by yourself.
Okay, all right, I got this.
If I can't flirt with our guests, there's no point in me being here. Zero.
Well, I know one guest that we might flirt with, and
Yes.
it's this luscious brunette down here. Can you introduce us to who this guy is?
This one takes the show. This is Ramsey. He is my seizure alert dog. He's the famous one. He's already been in commercials and done some podcasts himself. So he takes center stage. Trust me.
Well, he's the man, and he provides like an amazing gift
Yes.
that he helps you with. And today we're talking all about epilepsy. You know, your journey, your path. Everything that you've been through and things that you've learned and conquered along the way too. So you're doing some really awesome stuff. Yeah. So without further ado,
Let's go ahead and start from the beginning, though.
Okay.
So where are you from?
Okay. So I am from Wildomar, Lake Elsinore area.
Okay.
Not a lot of people like to say where that area is from, but I grew up there. I was a normal teenager. I was very athletic. I played softball as a kid, and once I got to high school, I was in water polo. Lived a really normal
Wait, you
life.
played water polo?
I did.
I felt like those were for the bigger girls. You're kind of petite.
Say what?
So what position of water polo did you play?
Well, I was hold set, which, girls knew not to mess with me there.
Okay. All right.
And then I took over.
wait, does she have claws? Does she?
I did.
check?
I would.
I'm
Trust
sure.
me.
Yeah.
Trust me, my sisters played water polo. I heard the gnarliest stuff
Oh, yeah.
about like what goes
Me
on
too, me
underwater.
too. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna share this one. So I had my sister had a really competitive water polo team in high school, and her and a girl got into it again. And this girl straight up wrapped herself around my sister and said, "I'm peeing on you." And she was like, "What?"
Yeah.
I'd rather have that than
Yes.
someone like my biggest fear was always like someone ripping off my bathing suit.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
like you always wear like two bathing suits, and
Well-
like I didn't care if people like scratched me. I cared more like my boob just comes out in the middle of a game, and my dad's right there like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Well, bathing suits now, I feel like they've evolved from like
Oh,
a regular
yeah.
onesie to like a wetsuit that zips up
Yes,
and it's
they
tight
do,
and it's
yeah.
like
Smart.
bulletproof. Like, oh my god. So
Yeah, it's
anyway,
no
so
joke.
yeah, that's a tough sport. So
Yeah.
good for you on that.
Yes.
So you played
Yes.
softball and water polo.
Yes.
Right on. What position in softball?
That was a pitcher, but I stopped that when I was younger, when I was about 13, 14.
Okay.
And then right when I went to high school, I decided I needed some kind of sport. I just love being active.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to try something new. So
Yeah.
and then I was a goalie as well.
Good
So,
for no
For water
way.
polo?
Dang,
I don't
that's
know.
that's
Okay.
specialized. So like
Usually
that's
they
a
put the
whole other
big
thing.
6'2", 250-pound girl back at goalie.
I was put in it by because the goalie
What's your
moved
idea of
up.
water polo.
Okay, so let me just explain my idea. Of it,
Okay, yeah.
Okay, I grew up. I had friends that played water polo, but they were large girls. I remember one time, this girl.
We don't know him. I'm sorry.
I mean this very like she was
It's athletic.
Okay,
Yeah.
in high school we hung out. I was at my buddy's party, and she was 6'2", 250, and she told me I could not tackle her. In high school, I played linebacker, so I
believe
was
it.
like, really? You don't think I could tackle you?
Oh my god.
So we were
It's like
arguing
a
about
scene
it.
out of not
and
another
with-
teen movie.
Unbeknownst to her, I rushed her, I tackled her, put her right into the wall. Okay, she got up with a sprained ankle, and I said, "Now what?" I'm sorry, by the way. I wish I could take that back. But so
Can
my
you guys please have that girl in your
my
show?
vision of the goalie
Yeah.
was this
I'm
6'2".
a little
You know,
nervous. I don't have enough
I mean-
insurance for that episode.
yeah, no, nothing was stopped. Like she told me, like no one ever scored on her because she literally was the goal. You know, so yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, how tall are you?
I'm 5'8".
You're 5.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
you're still pretty
Yeah.
tall.
You're so tall though.
And
Thank
I
you.
mean, like, I'm smaller than I was back then, I guess. I don't
Okay.
know. As a runner, I think I've like shrunk down.
Well, that's something you developed later on is like
yeah.
a love for running, right? Yeah.
So I was 15 years old. I was in sophomore year playing water polo, loving life, had big goals for myself. And it was the night before my freshman prom. And
did you have a date?
Huh?
Did you have a date to the prom?
I did. It was my boyfriend.
Oh, okay.
Yes, of 2 years or a year that time. And then I come home and the next thing I remember is waking up at the hospital. Wow. So that's where my epilepsy journey started.
So up until that point, you had no prior issues at
No,
all?
I mean, I would have like really bad headaches, and I've been to a neurologist before, and they're just like, oh, they did tests and everything, and they just said, you just have really bad migraines. And so that's what we took it as, just migraines. Wow. But other than that, it was so normal, like no injury, like just nothing. And woke up at the hospital, and when they told me, I like remember like people saying like, are you okay, like you just had a seizure. And the first thing I could think of, and I'm totally out of conscience, but I'm like, what's that? Like I have no idea what this word means. It's not in my vocabulary. And I just remember I couldn't like lift up my arms, I couldn't lift up my legs, I could barely like open my eyes.
So you felt a lot like Marty a little bit, right?
Yeah, I felt
Thanks, dude.
You could sympathize, right?
Quad life, yeah.
I mean, I felt like I was heavy, like, and I didn't know what's going on. And I just have bits and pieces of memories, like seeing my parents crying in the background, and then the doctor coming in, and I'm just completely out of it. And my biggest concern was, can I still go to prom?
Yeah.
Which I did.
So you did?
Okay,
I did.
sure,
I wish I didn't.
Yeah, what a
but,
warrior.
Well, okay, when you're dating someone older than you, and I was a freshman, I don't know why my parents really let me go to prom as a freshman.
Okay.
And
He was a senior?
He was a junior.
Okay.
And, well, what do you want to do after prom?
Go party.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, this girl, after a seizure, I didn't know this, but you're dead. Like, you can't do anything. And I just wanted to go back to the hotel and sleep. And, of course, he's like, I want to party. Like, and it just was not. So it was not tough. Very fun. I don't really remember it.
So was that kind of like the oh shit moment, or did it kind of set in after another seizure or another one that where it was like, there's something seriously going on here? Yeah.
The oh shit moment didn't come for a couple years later.
Wow.
To be honest with you.
Yeah.
It was all just like I was on a freeway, like, okay, go to the doctors. And I remember sitting in the doctor's office after test, and he was claustrophobic, so he could only talk to my parents. And then my boyfriend at the time was with me. So my parents went in the back with them, and then they came out in the waiting room.
Your doctor was claustrophobic?
Yeah. So you couldn't have too many people in the waiting room or in the room.
You ever heard of that?
I haven't.
And this is the weirdest things I remember, because I don't remember a lot, but it's like the weirdest things that I do remember.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing. I'm just like, the doctor being claustrophobic. That's the funniest thing I've heard in my life.
Like, you have something serious going on. Like,
we need to go talk in the parking lot.
Could one of you guys stand about 3 feet to the left? Like that?
We can't talk in this room. Let's go in the parking lot. I need space. Okay.
Sitting there chain smoking a cigarette.
Yeah. Okay, so your daughter. Yeah, she's got some.
Mind's going.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No.
Anyways.
So, I was like, go talk to my parents. Like, I don't need to know. I didn't see the big deal in this. Yeah. And when they sat me down, these are the words that changed my life for the worse with my epilepsy. The doctor sat down and said, I have some news to tell you, but I want you to know you're going to live a normal life.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, like, what is it? And he's like, we don't know all the facts, but you have seizures, and you have a severe seizure disorder. That's what he said. Okay. And like you said earlier, I have epilepsy, right?
Right.
I wasn't diagnosed with epilepsy until later in life. So for about.
Is it a generic disease? Is it a family thing that's been passed down to you? Like, where does it come from?
So at this point in my life, I didn't know where it came. No one in my family had it. And there was no injury. A lot of people with epilepsy or seizures, they get it from a head injury. There was no head injury. Yeah, I played sports, but there was nothing like a concussion or anything like that. So they called it a severe seizure disorder, which meant they had no idea what it was.
Yeah.
And it was like their way out of trying to figure it out.
Well, we also think that, doctors have the golden ticket of knowledge that know everything that's ever wrong with us, which we know is total bullshit.
Yes.
So
they're practicing still, and that's the problem. Yeah. Is that we go in looking for all the answers when, especially like with the brain, is so unknown that they can. It started my journey with the medication, because that's all they know is to just give you medication.
Right.
Oh, that didn't work. There's other medication. Let's try this one. Let's try this one. And it was just a rabbit hole going down.
What kind of medication were they throwing you on, and kind of like how did your body react to it? Like, what was that like?
So in my high school, I was like a zombie. So I remember like the first medication they put me on was called Topamax. And I just didn't, this is where my memory starts fading out. But I remember just being out of it. I was literally a zombie. Like, I couldn't function.
So did your grades suffer? Did your social life suffer?
Yeah. So what's funny is, though, I lived in this reality where the doctor told me I can live a normal life.
Right.
So I felt that I could hide my epilepsy, that it didn't really exist because I could live a normal life. So I'm just going to, go with it. And so I had fun with friends. At that time, my grades didn't suffer. I was in all like AP classes.
Wow,
I had dreams of becoming a doctor. I knew what colleges I wanted to go to. So nothing was in my way of
Nothing
that.
was limiting you.
Correct.
Doing stuff. Okay.
Yes. Until the first thing, I had to quit water polo because of my seizures. I thought that seizure was going to be the only seizure I had. And I realized no.
How often were they coming after that first one?
Well, what's funny is, if you ask me, I'd say, I don't know, like every, couple months. You ask my family, they're like, no, it happened a lot more. But because my memory is kind of gone of that, I don't know. Like, I literally just talked to one of my girlfriends a week ago, and she was telling me about a time in high school where I had a seizure in an ASB bus on the way back from winter retreat. And she's like, yeah, and she's telling me all about it. I'm like, I had no idea.
And I'm sure none of them knew how to react to it or what to do.
My friends knew I had epilepsy or seizure disorder, so a lot of them knew what to do. Actually,
that's good.
I have to admit, I had some great friends who took care of me. One of my best friends, she was the go-to friend that my teachers would call her if I had a seizure to come in and stuff. And all the classes that she could be with me in, she was in that class.
What causes the memory loss?
Just having brain damage.
So you got brain damage from the seizures?
Which I didn't know at the time.
Is that just because you're like nothing physical? Like you didn't fall and hit your head, and all of a sudden was that
it's because so
maybe we start with what is a seizure for some people, like on a high level that just don't even know. Like, some people just picture like, oh, you're shaking, but what's actually going on?
Well, I'd like to say that I am not an expert in this field at all. I use probably the dumb terms.
That's all we need to know. Yeah.
So,
because we're
a seizure is just like electricity in your brain going off. So you have like all this like electricity going on in your brain, and your body kind of just convulses or reacts to that extra electricity in your brain. So there's so many different types of seizures. Some of the ones I have are absent seizures. So those are ones that I could be having right now and you don't have a clue. Or if you see me like daydreaming, that's like a seizure.
Wow.
So in growing up, in high school and out, like it looked like I was just a daydreamer. I was just like out of it, like Destiney, focus. But I was having a seizure.
That's so interesting.
Could you be able to communicate, or would you just be like staring at a wall,
just kind of blank,
just staring at a wall? Yeah, just
and
out of it.
Someone tried to talk to you, to still be just focused on whatever
until they got me out of it.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Another type of seizure is called a partial seizure, and that's one that you just pass out.
Okay.
And then grand mal seizures, which is also called a clonic-tonic seizure, are the convulsing ones that when you think of a seizure, you first come to mind, are the ones that you're flopping on the floor, and a lot of people lose their urine, like
control.
Control their bladder.
What about, is it just bladder, or would you
No, there has. I haven't, but I've heard of people with epilepsy who have lost their bowels as well. And that one you can stop breathing. That's my grand mal seizure. Grand mal seizures. I stopped breathing. So like literally like blue in the face. Those are the ones that really can kill you.
Yeah. How long does that typically last? Like your loss of breathing ability, because that's kind of scary.
It could, for me, I don't, like I said,
Right.
I don't know because I've never seen a seizure, but I know it's probably like 30 seconds.
But even still, that's a loss of oxygen to the brain.
Yeah,
so I'm sure
exactly.
that also plays into your memory loss and like over time, just a lot of
and that's
loss
where
of oxygen.
A lot of people don't know this, but 1 out of 26 people in the United States live with epilepsy or who have had epilepsy in their past.
Wow.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
So you can had epilepsy. I can't say it.
Epilepsy
In the past, so they actually grew out of it.
Yes. A lot of kids can grow out of epilepsy.
Interesting.
So that's actually great.
You grew into it.
I grew into it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Crazy.
Meaning that it'll be with me for my rest.
So there's no cure for it.
No.
There's no medication that will curb it.
No.
Okay.
I'm on medication right now that has subsided my grand mal seizures.
Okay.
So I've been almost 4 years grand mal seizure free, and that's literally the only reason why I'm able to sit here and be able to talk to you guys and have the freedom that I have today that I didn't have.
Well, I had a friend in high school. His older brother died of a seizure because he choked on his tongue. And he had just graduated. He was a year ahead of us, and he had just graduated. And we were coming home from something in the summertime, and he actually died of that. Like, what is your worst that someone's filled your, mind, but what was your worst seizure moment, you think? Or know about?
Of what I know, I think my most dangerous moment of a seizure is one we talked about earlier is I was in a bathroom by myself on a first date.
Oh no.
Okay.
And I didn't tell the guy I had epilepsy. So I woke up alone in a hospital and not knowing where I was before then, who I was
we gotta
with.
get the details of
Dude
this.
didn't even go to the hospital?
How'd you meet this guy?
I have no idea. It was New York City, so you just meet random people everywhere.
Comes back to you, homie. That was
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even remember his name, so I guess.
How long into the date was it? Like you guys just met at the restaurant? Was it like 20 minutes? You don't know.
I have no idea.
Okay.
I think we met at the restaurant. I would think, knowing. But yeah, I woke up with that, and I think why it was such a seizure that affected me so much is because I was in my most vulnerable moment where I realized I could be with somebody and have a seizure and I don't know what they're going to do to me. I don't know what's going to happen with me. Like someone could steal something off me. Someone could, kill me, or, you can't trust everyone.
Do you think up to that point you were kind of maybe in denial about it or embarrassed about it enough not to take the precautions? Like you have a dog now.
Yeah.
So what got you to that point where okay, I need to really protect myself? Was it that date or your family, your friends? What really got you to that point where I need to protect myself now?
I think at that point that was a moment where I was like, all right, I need to be more forthcoming with my epilepsy. Yeah. I need to let people know that that I have epilepsy. So I would tell people if I was on an airplane, hey, I have epilepsy. I've had, I think 3 seizures on an airplane. So that was big for me, is making sure that wherever I was alone, I was going to tell someone I have epilepsy. This is what you're going to do. And for the sake too that there's really not much you can do when you have a seizure. So when you go in the hospital, you're given this $5,000 bill at least for something that they're saying, well, just follow up with your doctor.
Give you some saline, maybe an EKG.
Yeah, follow up with your doctor. That's all you. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm stuck with the bill.
Well, okay, I want to backtrack a little bit because you had this onset at a young age, and high school is kind of crazy times. You're kind of exploring your womanhood and dating and going to dances and all of that. Can you tell us a little bit about how your epilepsy or seizure disorder at the time played into kind of dating life and social life in general?
In high school, it didn't. again, I kept it like so hidden and like nonchalant. I joked about it constantly where people didn't think it was a big deal to me. So they didn't make it a big deal. Yeah. And that was just how I did it. Like, I really was just like, yeah, epilepsy, let's go party. Yeah. And I went to all my dances. I was very involved in high school.
Good for you.
My grades didn't slide. Like, if they did, it was because I was gone for like, you know, I'd work to get them better. Yeah. It was because I was sick in bed or something. The only thing I realized was if I was stressed out, I'd have a seizure, and I would stress out if I had a big test, and so then I have a seizure, and then I'm like, oh my God, I have this test that I don't remember now.
Oh, geez.
So something that the high school helped me with, it's called a 501 form. So that helped me with getting some extra time on tests and assignments, so I didn't let my grades slip.
So you had no bad experiences in high school with it at all? Like a guy didn't dump you over it, or your friends didn't tease you about it?
The one thing I remember, and like I said, I don't remember a lot, so maybe behind my back. One thing and my friends would say kind of hurt me. I didn't know at the time it hurt me, but they would say like, oh, you're like Emily Rose, the Possessed.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And I look back and I would joke about it, but I'm like, ouch.
It's messed up.
Like,
yeah. I could just picture kids you're like that age, like faking like they're having a seizure to like tease you or something like that.
Thankfully, Thankfully, I went to a school that wasn't like that, but I see what teenagers with epilepsy have to go through now. I'm an advocate, and I've helped teenagers through high school, and the things that they tell me are so sad.
Well, now everyone gets to hide behind a screen.
Yeah, the TikTok. There was a challenge, a seizure challenge, that they fake seizures. Oh my God! If you look at the GIFs, is that what they're called? GIFs. If you look up seizure, it's all these flashing lights, and that causes seizures. And it's like, how could Instagram?
So that's true. I remember what like video games would have it, or like movies.
Yeah, like these may cause seizures. Yeah.
Right. So that is true.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's a good segue. I have a question about like what brings on a seizure? Are they random, or do things bring them on?
Stress is one. What else?
Yeah, stress. Yeah. For me, not eating. I'm hypoglycemic, so if I don't eat enough, then I can go down and have seizure.
So you actually get hangry and you need that food.
If I get to that point, I look at my husband like, get me food now. Like, tell this waiter to hurry up. Like, yes,
okay. You get to hang that one out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And trust me, he doesn't want me to have a seizure because he has to deal with
the
after
effects. That's like hangry roulette
effects.
right there. Yeah.
So I have snacks all in my purse always. Yeah. I'm like that grandma with all the treats in her purse.
Nice.
That's me.
That's awesome.
Another one, like, stressed. Mine, I have something called non-epileptic seizures that's caused by my PTSD.
Okay.
So I have PTSD from being sexually abused as a child, and my PTSD has turned into a form of a seizure.
Really?
So if you're having like a flashback or a nightmare. Okay.
During high school, I'd have triggers like a red truck. Whenever I see a red truck, that night I'd go into a seizure, and those seizures would last
I drive a red truck, so I feel like
no.
We're gonna drive that down the street before you leave.
I'm totally over that
I'll
one.
leave 10 minutes before you do. Don't worry about it.
Oh my God.
No, I saw it.
Terrible. Okay.
No, that's
God, this guy. Jeez, you a guy.
It's honestly, I kind of love this because
probably see how red I am right now.
Not too often we can make Sonny feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You guys do.
Oh my God, I feel so honored.
I have a certain feeling about that just because I have a niece, and I could, if someone tried to hurt her, I would murder them. So. Yeah. That's tough.
Definitely. And that's the thing. It's like, I think I put it so far back in my mind that when I started having seizures, and it was all brought back up because now my PTSD has involved itself into a seizure.
Yeah.
And those seizures would be more violent, screaming. I'd be just like scratching at myself. My family would have to like hold me down, and those are the ones I'm still going through right now. So I still have non-epileptic seizures.
What were more of the triggers?
Triggers. I'm trying to think.
The truck.
Stress, triggers, not eating.
There's so much. Sleep is a big one. Sleep deprived.
If you're underslept,
yes. Like if you do an EEG, a test, they'll do things to make you have a seizure, like make you not sleep for 24 hours or put flashing lights in your face.
Just so they could do readings during that time.
And then
that's rough.
And if you have any people with epilepsy watching this, they know they're going to laugh at this, because what happens is you don't have a seizure. The moment they stop the test that night, you'll have a seizure in bed. And you're like, what?
And then you have to wait and do another one.
Yeah.
Yes. Of course.
So those are a few of the triggers.
Let me ask you, for people who don't know, when you have the seizure, does that person need to do to help you?
Really, first, just stay calm. Okay. Especially like with me, I know my seizures. So, I need you to stay calm, because, I know they're not going to lead to something where they're not going to stop, because some people that have so first thing I would say is time the seizure. If it lasts more than 3 minutes, you need to call 911.
3 minutes?
3 minutes.
Wow. Okay.
Because on some people with epilepsy, their seizures don't stop, where they need medication put in them for the seizure to stop. Okay. And that can lead to a disorder of, now it's going off my brain.
It's okay.
SUDEP, and that's sudden death. Sudden unexpected death with epilepsy.
But if you're having like a convulsions on the floor, like that person just needs to let you have those.
Yeah, you gotta just let us have it.
Naturally,
make sure
as
like
a guy,
move
you
everything.
want to like go and grab you and like hold you. No,
you just gotta make sure everything's out of the way, so you don't hit your head. And if you already hit your head, just make sure like you kind of keep it still.
What about like holding the head so it doesn't like rock back and hit the
or
floor,
like put a
things
pillow
like that?
underneath.
Okay.
But the thing is, you don't want to try to stop the seizure, because I know with me, if you try to stop the seizure, I'll go into seizure right after that seizure.
It just kind of resists.
It needs to be
the
released.
Need to get out.
There would be times where I'm like, I don't feel well. I just need to have a seizure, because I know there's so much electricity going on there. I'm like, I just need it to release.
It's very different, but in a similar way, like with spinal cord injuries, like when I have a big spasm coming on and I try and resist it, it definitely will just set off another one in another way. Like when my arm starts like raising up and I try and resist it, my back's like, guess what? You're going to go for a ride, and it's crazy. In a similar way, I feel like we can relate.
Yeah.
Could you almost plan one out though if you needed to release it? Like, all right, I need to have one, so I'm going to go in my bed and get comfortable and then
That's
have a seizure?
what, with him, yes.
Okay.
As a mom now, I'm learning that I can control them. Like if I'm alone with my daughter and I know a seizure is coming, I'll like call someone like, I need you to come. And I like kind of go into my body and like, just hold off, just wait.
Yeah.
And then right when I feel safe, I'll go into seizure like that.
Wow. Well, let's talk about what Ramsey can do for you, because we mentioned earlier, he's got the gift, and there's so many stories of amazing animal intuition. And I want to get into a little bit about like what he can do for you, like what he can alert you to, and kind of what happens throughout the process.
So Ramsey alerts me 2 days in advance of a seizure.
That's so amazing.
So
2 days. And how does he alert you?
The first day he has to be watching me. So if I walk out of a room, he's following me. He'll follow me with his eyes until he can't see me, and then he follows me into the room. And that's the first day. So when I know he's like, not leaving me alone, I know something's coming. And that kind of gives me a chance to prepare for the next day. So I go to the grocery store, I go to the gym, I kind of do some things. And then the day of, he has to be touching me. So his nose is on my knees, or he's laying on my feet, or if I'm standing up, he's touching my hand. We know, okay, it's going to happen today. And then about an hour before, he's more aggressive on me. Like, don't move.
Wow.
And he stays with me until the seizure's done. So, which is nice, because if I have a seizure and he's not leaving me, I know another seizure's coming.
Oh, wow.
So he stays with me until they're all gone.
And he wasn't trained for this.
No.
They call this a gift.
Yes, definitely a God-given gift.
Some dogs are just born with this. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And like, faith is incredibly important to you. I know. And you had mentioned something to us about this dog in particular, in the litter, and the family you bought him from, and how they prayed over him and knew that he'd be going to a family that was deserving. I mean, if that isn't, bigger things working in the universe, then
and they are so proud of him. I mean, we keep them really involved in our lives, and they see the work that Ramsey's been doing and the attention he's been getting, and they're so proud of him. And I'm just thankful that this family let us, take him into our own. And I just
how rare is it? Like, how rare is it to find a dog that knows?
Is it particular to his breed?
So what's funny is one of the other dogs in his litter did diagnose like another of their dog to have diabetes. So like it might be something in their line. His line is came from a show dog line, so it could just be that line. But the thing is, I feel like all dogs kind of have that sense. We had little dogs growing up, and you could tell they knew when I was going to have a seizure. Okay. It's like when they know an earthquake's coming, or they just know things. It's just a matter of them taking it into action. Big dogs like to have a job. They want to be working. And this really gives Ramsey a job that he absolutely loves. And when he's done with his job, he wants nothing to do with me for the next day. He leaves me. That's the only time he goes to my husband.
He's like, you could send my check to that dog bed over there.
Where are the treats? Yeah. Give me the treats.
Yeah.
Do a lot of people with your condition have dogs? Is that normal, or is it,
No, and it's so sad. It's so hard to get a seizure alert dog. I was on a wait list for a seizure alert dog, and I was denied because I didn't have a lot of seizures, they said. They were looking more for people with 10 to 100 seizures, like in a month. And the thing is, though, for me, I feel like when you have so many seizures, it's like, what's their quality of life? Because really they're bedridden, and it's so sad because I look at how blessed I am to live the life that I'm living, because I shouldn't. There's no reason why I should be here talking, able to do certain things that I do. So no, it's not. It's very hard to get a seizure alert dog, and that's something that I've talked to you, Marty, about. In the future, I'm working on is to start a nonprofit called Ramsey's Purpose, to really try to rescue dogs and give them a job.
Yeah. Good boys get all the treats, and good girls. That's amazing. And God is good, and he has definitely been using you to, spread your message, your experience and everything. And one of the other things that I think is just a blessing is you're a mom now.
Yeah.
And that couldn't have been an easy process of having seizures and, being pregnant and all that. Can you kind of tell us a little bit more about your journey to motherhood?
Okay. Yeah. Well, it started when I was 20, to be honest with you. And I'm 30. So you're like, okay, wait, you have a 10-year-old? No. I was pregnant at 20, and I had a really bad grand mal seizure, and it led to a miscarriage.
How many months, weeks?
I was about, I want to say 4 months. I didn't tell anyone at the time. So it was really rough when I got the hospital, and I was like, I'm pregnant. It was just too late. I put a lot of guilt on me, because I felt like I could have done something. And for my parents to call 911, that's how dangerous. It was so scary because they thought I was dying. So anyways, so after that moment, I swore to myself I would never have children. I would never do that to another child. And when I met my husband, that was something we agreed on. I told him, I'm not ever getting pregnant. I'm sorry. We can look at adoption or a surrogate, but no. Even after we got married, my best friend let me know if I wanted to, she would be our surrogate. So we planned to have a surrogate.
How did your husband take that initially?
I think he was he's just absolutely amazing. And he kind of felt like, okay, I feel like he knew I had to go through this and kind of say no, never, 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 when I think he really knew that it was going to change. He knew my heart before I knew my heart. Wow. So I feel like he never said anything bad about it. He just okay. And I appreciate that,
For sure.
Because I wouldn't trade being pregnant and having my daughter for the world. The thing is when we were dating, I wasn't on medication. I was having at least one grand mal seizure a week. I was to a point bedridden. I couldn't do my hair. I couldn't get dressed. I couldn't talk at sometimes. I couldn't drive. I couldn't walk. There was so many things. I couldn't speak. I lost my ability to speak.
So before medication, these were all your fallbacks.
Mm-hmm.
You could not do any of this stuff. This was all limited to you before you started taking medication.
I took medication from like 15 when I was diagnosed to 19.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just wasn't working. And I was so tired of being that zombie where I just said, I'm done. I'm done taking medication and I'm just going to live with my seizures. And
Did
that's
you
my
drive
life.
at 16 or 17? No. Okay.
So I did not get my license. I couldn't drive. I got my license at 18 because I lied and said I didn't have any seizures. And
what did your parents think about that though? Because they know the truth. Your family knows the truth. Did they?
I don't know. I questioned what they thought.
They were just like, let her live her life, you know?
Yeah, and I
It's
wasn't
like that
really the
scene
safest
in
driver.
Step Bro was like, why would you let us do that? What were you thinking?
Yeah.
Well, I think about that too, like with the prom thing. Like, guys, why would you let me stay at prom? And
Yeah, and I was kind of the part of that got me too was the hotel room too.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, I just want to go back to the hotel room. I was thinking, just wanted to go home, but I was in
Yeah.
the hotel room. But yeah, anyway.
One thing too I want to jump in on is the start of your and your now husband's relationship. One thing we like to get into is kind of like sharing your disability, your disorder, whatever it may be, up front with somebody. Can you kind of tell us about how you handled informing this potential partner of
what I remember,
epilepsy,
because I'm just I'm gonna say that a lot of what I remember, because I don't remember really from 15 to 26. So what I know, from the very beginning, I met my husband on Match.com.
Hey.
Yeah.
Hey.
I accidentally liked him.
accidentally. Yeah.
I did.
You had
He
a
didn't-
seizure while you were
He didn't find out until like a year later.
Oh,
come on. Well,
How was it an accident?
Because I accidentally, I was just looking at
Accident or
pictures and I
fate?
accidentally, and I know I tried to change it.
What do you send in with Match.com? What is it? Is it a like?
I think it was like a like, yeah, like
Something- I don't remember.
Yeah.
thumbs up or something.
Yeah.
So anyways,
that's amazing.
we went out on a date. He knew that I had epilepsy because he had to pick me up. I couldn't meet anywhere because I didn't have a driver's license.
Okay. So you guys talked about it beforehand.
Kind of, yeah, roughly.
Okay.
So we went out to dinner and I just sat him down and I said, listen, before we get started, like, I have epilepsy. Like, you need to know this because I don't have time for games. So if you have a problem with this, like, there's the door.
Dang, girl.
All right.
And I was blunt. And,
Yeah.
I had to be because I went so many years of just, like, faking it and, like, just like, oh, it's not a big deal. And then these guys, like, later on in life, like, oh, it's too much to handle, or,
So you did go through that part.
I did a little bit, yeah. So
Like get him to the hospital and don't even know where the guy's at or who I was on a date with.
I mean, I'll admit, I had some great boyfriends in the past who stuck by my side.
Yeah.
But it was really me that kind of isolated myself because I didn't have a memory. I didn't really have the ability to love somebody because I didn't have memory.
It's like 50 first dates.
It is. With my
Yeah.
husband, it was completely 50 first dates at the time. So I look back and God had sent so many great people in my life, but I just disassociated myself with them because I just could. I don't really have a lot of strong relationships.
It's hard to
during
get
that
an attachment when you don't remember.
Exactly. Yeah.
Your investment.
So like it was so
emotionally.
easy if you got in a huge fight with a boyfriend, be like, I'm done, and then I'm literally done because I can just forget it.
Yeah, for sure.
So
I kind of wish
That's a blessing.
Yeah, I kind of wish a lot of
right there.
girlfriends I dated had that kind
But
of
then
memory.
I got
in their
like the
life.
reputation of like a cold heart, like because it was so. I literally would tell my husband like I have a cold heart, and now he says like, babe, you never had a cold heart.
Yeah.
Like no.
You just didn't meet the right guy.
Yes, exactly. He's like
that's
amazing.
amazing.
So
That fake half like really worked out well for you.
Huh?
That fake half like really worked out well.
it was God saying he's the one.
Yeah, right.
So-
Took your hand when you didn't want to.
Yeah, and he even said he's like when you said that to me, like there's the door. Like I knew there's something about you that I wanted to get to know more.
Yeah.
You know what it is for us in our disabilities too is the fact that you owned it. I really look forward to when I meet somebody when they just own who they are, and I think by you saying that you owned it and it's attractive.
The thing is, like I feel like in any disability you have to embrace it. Like I always say that. Like I embrace my epilepsy. It is I hate it when people tell me like I'm so sorry. I'm like why?
Yeah.
I'm not sorry for what
Right.
because I've probably have achieved a lot more than I would have that is meaningful.
Yes.
Amen.
Like, yes,
Yeah.
Yes.
I had to drop out of college. Yes, I didn't pursue my dream as a doctor because of my epilepsy. But what I'm doing now is so much more, and it's my purpose. And it's so like, this is what I was made for. And yeah, I just think that's so funny when people say like, "Oh, I'm so sorry you have to go through that." I'm
I
like,
get that
why?
so often. You know,
I really hate
Yeah.
when people tell this guy he's too hot to be in a wheelchair. That one really gets under my skin.
you're the
Only
one.
ugly
You were the
people-
one that told it
Only
to me.
ugly people deserve to be in a wheelchair. Like, come on, you know.
Yeah, jeez, bro.
Jeez Christ.
What was that, Brooks? Oh, okay.
All right, go ahead.
What'd you say? Okay.
I'm gonna go back in my corner.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna walk away. So
Let me ask you. Have you had any awkward moments? Like maybe say you're getting intimate and you get a little stressed out. Have you had like a seizure during like maybe some intimate moments?
Not that I remember.
Because that would be interesting for like a guy dating you and like
Yeah.
everything's kind of progressing and next thing you know you have a seizure, you know, right in the middle of maybe, you know, an intimate moment.
Yeah,
Is
I
he gonna
don't
think he's a champ or
so.
not know what to do?
I know,
Yeah.
right?
I
And if
mean-
you had my husband on the show, he'd probably give you
Okay.
some time.
Yeah.
But I think maybe that's what's good about me not remembering things because don't remember a lot of embarrassing things
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
probably happened to me.
What
during
about
that time.
peeing your pants or
Oh, yeah.
you've had that? Okay.
Oh, definitely. So I think I'm probably wrong. My husband's probably like going to be shaking his head like, no. But it was like, I don't know, our second week together and we had a seizure together and I peed my pants. So here's this guy I wasn't intimate with at all. And I wake up and I'm in a different pair of pants.
Oh, man.
And that just mean the world to me. It
Yes.
was like, wow,
Yes.
like, thank you. Like, you
Yeah.
know, like, because he could have left me in that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, he didn't have to do that. And like, some people were like, oh my God, I can't believe he violated you. It's like, he
Helped
made
you,
me
yeah.
feel even more normal. Like, you know what I
That's
mean?
good.
Like,
Yeah.
and that has become a recurring. Every grand mal seizures, I pee my pants.
Did that kind of elevate your trust level with him? You know, because that was so early on, you're like, okay, this guy's legit.
I think like the first day really like what elevated my trust, you said, was that he didn't kiss me on the first date, which I thought was so weird. I thought like, what did I do wrong? Like, why did he just leave? Like, he didn't kiss me. And
We definitely have to follow up because I want to know if he was
Yeah.
kicking himself.
Yeah.
no,
or
he didn't
what?
kiss me until the
Yeah.
third day. And I've asked him like, why? He's like, well, why? Like, I didn't need to kiss you the first day. Like, I wanted you to know, like, I wanted more. It wasn't about just a
Little
kiss.
did he know he was just
I was like at
reeling
home like,
you in, right?
oh
Stirring
my
the
God.
pot. I love
I was
it.
pissed.
Yeah.
But what really, I think, really built that trust is I remember having a seizure and he just like, it was like a really bad day. And because after a seizure, you're out of it. You're completely gone.
Yeah.
And he just like came over and was like, let's go carve pumpkins. And it just made, like, I wasn't there because after a seizure, you're
Yeah.
just not there. And
Right.
like, I just have such a good memory of that. Just knowing like he made something so good that was so hard in my life because with seizures, you have so much hope after a seizure. Like, okay, that's the last one. I'm not gonna have any more.
Yeah.
And then you have a seizure, you're like, oh, again.
Right.
And it's just like this roller coaster. You just keep going down and down and down. So it's really depressing. A lot of people with epilepsy deal with depression really bad. And because there's no hope.
Yeah.
And with doctors that are just throwing you medication,
Right.
telling you that you can live a normal life, but then you're realizing like there's no normalcy in this life.
Just burying
There's
you in
yeah,
a fog of medication.
I wish that my doctor never told me I could live a normal life
Yeah.
because then I would prepare.
Wow,
but
that's
he never let me prepare for that. And
Right.
that's something as an advocate, I tell people with epilepsy or parents that have children with epilepsy, I tell them like your child's not going to be normal.
That's funny because they're like, it's almost like the false, sense of, what's the word I'm looking for? I mean, it's almost like a false sense of comfort in that things can change. And, obviously all things are possible and we hope and pray that we can, find those advancements that are
Right.
going to, be that medication or that procedure or the miracle that ends the disorder or, or our conditions. But it just gives you that false sense of hope, whereas I think in our case, how we've been dealt is like, there is no hope. You're not going to be able to do anything. And typically we have to like overcome that, that sentence that we're given. But I think, I almost would rather be told like, no, that's what it's like. And then have, like that optimism and that, that sense of just appreciation for the things that you do gain later on, as opposed to being like, no, you're going to be able to live a normal life. And then having, to feel like you're not living up to that.
It's kind of that sense of like, okay, how am I going to make the best of this life then? Because my life's not going to change. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, I thought it was just a phase. Like, okay, this is this phase of seizures and I'm going to have this normal life. So just let's forget about it. When I could have been doing so much with my life as an epileptic. And it's funny because some people don't like that word being called an epileptic. I embrace that term. Like, I am an epileptic. Like, what is wrong with that? Like, I'm not ashamed for what cards I've been dealt.
Right.
Like, and that's in my community. There's a really small percentage of people that actually speak out on epilepsy.
Really?
And that's why I'm so like,
why do you
thankful.
think that is though? Break that down for us. Like what it to me, it sounds like kind of the beginning you're in denial, but you're also embarrassed about it. And then also sounds like there was a slight depression that came with it too. So talking about maybe made people feel worse. What are your takes on that?
Well, one of mine is because they were told they can live a normal life. Okay. So they're going through this phase, they're going to let it go. And then they're going to, talk about once they've achieved or went over the hill of seizures.
Yeah, because some people do grow out of it.
Yes. Well, kids. Yes, a lot of kids. But I think it's just, ashamed. Really, too, is there is a lost sense of yourself because of the brain damage and the loss of memory where you don't, like, I have really difficult time focusing and difficult time with getting my words together. So I'm embarrassed and I don't know how to help, if that makes sense. Yeah. I just started going to a neuropsychologist to help me with certain things because I went from writing a book to, after I met my husband, I had a book deal and everything. I met my husband. That's when a lot of my brain damage happened. I can barely write 2 pages now.
Wow.
That's because of the seizures, the brain damage? Okay.
So it's that way of communicating. Like, I don't know how to get things rolling, if that makes sense. Yeah. So in this time of my life, I feel like I'm just in that grieving process. And so it's been 15 years. So this just takes into account of other people with epilepsy is that I've had epilepsy for 15 years, but just in the last 5 years is when I've actually been dealing with it.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Kind of when you got your buddy here.
Yeah. Which is so funny because right when he started getting, trained, the grand mal seizure started declining, which is good.
That's amazing.
But he does he detects my non-epileptic seizures too.
It's crazy. You kind of got Ramsey, then you kind of met your husband. And then you kind of embraced your situation. It just seemed like kind of everything kind of came together for you then. Yeah.
Well, the reason everything happened was because my husband. Let's just say it started with him because I got my husband. We moved in. He told me to move in with me, be safer because I lived on my own. I was a very independent person. I moved to New York City by myself. I loved my life there.
What were you doing in New York City, by the way? Like.
So I was planning to finish my college education at NYU.
Okay.
But it's super expensive. So I was waiting to be a resident. Yeah. So I worked in finances at Wells Fargo.
Okay.
And then my seizures were getting so bad. I moved back after 2 years.
Okay.
And I always thought I was going to be moving back to New York. But I met my husband. I met Chase. And literally that's when life started.
Did you ever have a seizure on the airplane?
I did.
Okay.
I've had at least 3, and I just had one last year.
It
was my first trip
away.
It was my first trip by myself.
Okay.
Since I've been with my husband, I told him to. I'm like, I'm probably gonna have a seizure.
Yeah.
And it was like I was going for a writers conference, so I was like excited. And that's another trigger: getting overly excited. Seriously, that is a trigger.
Merry Christmas. It's like, you got me a new car.
Just wait for it.
Okay, all right.
So it was in a plane. I didn't feel well, and I knew something was wrong. And I told the flight attendant, like, hey, I have epilepsy. I don't feel well.
Okay.
So once we landed, I'll just stay to my seat. and I kind of told them what was going on. And then I lost like my stone in one of my rings that my husband just bought me. And I think that just took me over the line.
Yeah, that would set you off.
And I had a grand mal seizure. And I told them, I was like, everything's gonna be fine. Just leave me here and I'll walk away in 5-10 minutes. And they didn't believe me. And they're like, we're going to call 911. We're going to do this. And they called my husband and he's like, no, she's fine. If you call 911, she's not going to be happy. Just leave her there.
Yeah.
And so it's normal to me, like if it happens.
Yeah.
And my thing is calming everyone down before I have the seizure, which is sometimes hard because I'm like, okay, I'm going to go down anytime. But I'm like that drunk, like, oh, don't worry about me.
I'm good.
Like, I'm good.
Well,
and pop.
that's something that, it seems really gnarly for someone that hasn't been around it before,
Yeah.
And so they want to help, but in all actuality, it's kind of a responsibility of yours to have that like calming factor on informing people of what to do and how to handle it, because I think people instantly freak out about anything, And
You almost need to carry like a little placard that's laminated.
Yes. So I would carry a letter.
Okay.
And it was a letter to whoever found me or whatever. Like, hi, this is my name. Don't worry. And I'd like make a joke out of it first. And then like, just do these things and I'll be fine.
It's like what we would do with Sunny when we go out. It's like, if you find him, please
like,
call
please
this
belong.
number. Yeah.
Please return.
Yeah.
So that was that time. So I've had a couple in the plane. I
Wow.
never got like a free flight out of it. Never got anything free
So
out of it.
pretty much Chase is a rock star.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he's been your rock.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, the reason why I started medication, because I'm on medication now, is because once we got married, he says, I want you on medication. I'm like, well, no, I'm not doing it unless we're married. So we eloped. And once we got eloped, he's like, all right, that's it. Let's go to the doctor. And then
when he proposed to you, you were able to handle it?
So
that was pretty exciting, right?
When he proposed, I don't remember.
Why?
Because I had a seizure right after he proposed to me.
The excitement.
Yeah, in Hawaii.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yes. So
that's such a predicament you put your husband in, because he wants to probably really support you and do exciting things for you. But don't surprise me. Don't surprise me.
He's
like just trying to keep you on. He's like,
just make the story up and you'll be fine.
By the way, if you like want to get married,
give her breadcrumbs. I might propose to you on Tuesday, so
like just chill.
Stay
you
calm,
may want to go get your
relax.
nails done.
Yeah.
For no reason at all.
Oh man.
And chill out. We're all good.
I think that's why he took me in Hawaii, because he thought I'd relax. And that didn't really happen.
No, Hawaii, just chilling.
Hawaii.
So
go ahead.
Okay, I just want to say, because we touched on it a little bit earlier. So obviously he's the man, and you guys had a baby together.
Oh yeah.
And we started getting into a little bit about the pregnancy and some of the difficulties you were, experiencing there. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, sorry. See, I go off topic a lot.
No, we all did.
This is good.
Yeah, this is
good. Yeah.
We got some good stuff there.
So anyways, after I got on medication, we found out what was wrong. My doctor, we got the most amazing doctor in the world. And he looked at my EEG and was like, I know exactly what's wrong. You have this kind of epilepsy. And it was the first time I was really diagnosed, not just with epilepsy, but with it's a myoclonic juvenile epilepsy, which means that it happens with just kids, 14, 19, randomly.
Wow.
And it was just such a relief. I am part of something. That's what I was crying, because I felt just, okay, I have answers. I can move on now. So we started medication, and that medication was just amazing. It stopped my grand mal seizures right away. Wow. I always told people I still wanted kids. I didn't know how. My thing was, though, if I did want kids of my own, I'd wait 2 years seizure free. Okay. I never thought that would happen. I've never went more than 6 months seizure free, if that 3 months seizure free. Well, 2 years came and I was seizure free. And we got pregnant literally a week after our 2-year anniversary.
Oh my gosh.
Awesome.
Yeah, we found out. And
so no seizures whatsoever?
No grand mal seizures.
Okay, so the
most non-epileptic
severe seizure.
yes.
Okay.
Which the non-epileptic seizures don't have any ongoing effects. Yeah, brain damage.
Okay.
Yes. And with Ramsey's help on those seizures, I'm always safe in bed. Yeah. So that's another worry, because I'm like, okay, if I'm pregnant, I'm going to have a seizure. What if I fall on my stomach or something? Yeah. So I'm always safe in bed. And so when I got pregnant, of course, I'm scared to death. Okay, I've had this traumatic event to me last time I was pregnant. What do I do now? And I was all about like, I need a high risk doctor. Like and I told myself, I'm like, I'm doing it all natural. Like, I was like, I have such a bad history of medication where I'm like, I wanted to do this all natural. And I felt like I wanted to know my body could do it by itself. At that time I was a runner too. Yeah. So, I'm going to just say this because I'm a birth doula, and I think you need to be.
Wait a minute. You got to explain the birth doula part.
Okay,
I had no idea either.
Okay.
I
am a birth worker who supports the mom and their support team during pregnancy, birth, and postpartum.
So are you contracted by the hospital?
No, by my clients are the parents.
Yeah.
Or
so they'll call you in to coach them through pregnancy.
Yeah, so they'll hire me. They can hire me the moment they find out they're pregnant, or the day before they go into labor. It's not like
a Lamaze coach. You're not teaching them. No.
It's
nothing to do with birth. It's literally at the moment you're pregnant.
Look at you dropping Lamaze. Wow.
And so, I've been...
so, like, birth doulas can be, like, experts in certain types of births, like hypnobirthing is a type of
like
birth.
underwater birth.
What do they call that? That's just a water birth. That's just that's actually a comfort. Like,
Let me ask you a question about this, because I heard a rumor, or I've heard this.
This has got to be good.
A baby... Like, okay, so if you have a water birth, right, the baby doesn't really know how to breathe because when they're in the sac, whatever, right? I'm trying to figure out words.
The sac's the guy.
Sorry, the womb. Okay, but when they're in the water, like until they actually hit air is when they actually learn. Like, from that part, they never breathe on their own, right?
Well, they're breathing out of the placenta.
Right.
So so the placenta goes into the belly button.
Yeah.
So so when they come out, they can breathe on their own.
Finally, right?
Yes.
Okay, but how long could they really stay underwater?
I don't know. Okay, so I've only been a birth doula for, like, you're really putting some stress on
I'm
me
just
right
curious
now.
if you had like a blue
Don't
lagoon
stress
baby.
out.
It's like he birthed him.
Anyways,
I mean, they could say it. So anyways.
Moving.
All right, I'm sorry. I went on a little tangent
before
there,
that, okay.
Birth mermaids.
So
exactly, just leave it underwater.
But
that'd be crazy.
Not mermaids. Mermaids don't just have babies birth in tubs. I don't remember.
They don't have doulas.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyways, my first appointment at my OBGYN, I was so nervous because I have epilepsy. I'm a high risk pregnancy. I'm on medication. Like, I'm just a mess. And the doctor was just like, okay, so tell me about yourself. I'm like, oh, like, I'm a runner and I'm really healthy. I'm fit. Like, I'm like, okay, like, do you have any plans for this year? I'm like, yeah, we're going to Barcelona and I have a marathon coming up. And she's like, what? And she's like, well, you're not going to Barcelona. And I'm like, okay, why? And she's like, well, the Zika virus. I'm like, oh, okay, then I won't. Like, I'm done. That's all you have to say.
Right.
And then she's like, and you're not running the marathon. I'm like, what? I was like, what do you mean I'm not running the marathon? I've been training for this. Yeah. And she's like, well, you can, but if you come back and don't hear a heartbeat, you know why.
Whoa.
Wow, that's kind of hard.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. This was the doctor that I'm supposed to trust to birth my baby, right?
Yeah.
And I just looked at her and was like, what? I was like, well, we'll see about that. I ended up realizing that doctor was not for me. And I realized that you don't have to go with the first doctor. It's just like with my epilepsy. Like, I fired doctors on the spot. Like, you know what I mean? I would tell doctors when I first meet them, I've had 13 neurologists. And I would tell them in my first appointment, I don't like you. I don't trust you. You have to earn my trust. And until then, like,
for real,
you're no one
which
to
they
me.
do. Because bedside manner is so hard to find.
Yeah.
You get doctors just walking like the only place and you're just a number or, a line on a piece of paper.
You're just a chart, too.
You're just a chart.
Was that a male doctor that told you that?
Or no, that was a female doctor.
See, my personal experience, I've had better experience with the female doctors. They've been more compassionate. So I'm surprised that happened to you.
Yeah.
Another woman, that's crazy.
Yeah, so that was, and what was funny is here I am with my neurologist that I'm very, like, hardcore on, and then I'm with this OB, like, oh my God, you offended me, like, how dare you, you know what I mean, like, I wasn't, I should have been, I was too nice, I went in there without, like, defense mode, like I usually do. So anyways, I ran my marathon. And I did it with ease. I should have went faster because I slowed it down. I was trying to qualify for a race, and I slowed it down. But baby was healthy. I was healthy.
There you go.
And great pregnancy. I was so nervous. because of the things I've gone through.
Mm-hmm.
And, you're just you're sick. You know what I mean?
Right.
And sometimes you're labeled that, it doesn't go away for some people,
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing is, it's like, I have an invisible disease.
Right.
You know what I mean? People see a chair and they're like, oh, they know what's wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say one's worse than the other
Mm-hmm.
or one's better, like, because what's hard for me is they see me and like, oh, you're normal. You look great.
Right.
Which is sometimes hard because there'll be days where I can't get out of bed.
Do you have a handicap placard?
No.
Okay.
I wish.
No, I'm just
Yeah.
curious.
I'm like, if I can run a marathon, I guess I can walk down.
I mean, like, when do you feel the most judged about your disability? You'd say, do you get any kind of preferential treatment or any kind of special treatment because of it, or
No.
no?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
I make sure of that I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My thing is, I think as a mom now, I really have to tell myself, like, stop shaming myself as a mom and have mom guilt, because there's days I don't feel good. This last week, I've been in bed every single day because of seizures.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to give my daughter to my mother-in-law and say, I have to go to bed. And that was something that was really hard in the beginning of my motherhood journey,
Mm-hmm.
because I have to get 8 hours of sleep at night.
Yeah.
If I don't, then I will have a seizure.
Yeah.
We've kind of touched on the idea of, like, what's good long term, because you have such a desire to care for your baby,
Mm-hmm.
be there and do everything you can and, like, overextend yourself. But in the long term, that's not good for either of you, especially if you become underslept and you start having more seizures, and then, it becomes a bigger problem. Is that something that you found that you really had to dial back? Because that's a struggle between, I want to be here and help my daughter, yet I need to dial it back a little bit.
I think it's about self-care, and I think that's about with anybody. We need to do self-care. We need to have something to wind down, and that's like partially my running is when I don't feel good. Sometimes I just need to go running, and that clears my head.
Yeah.
Or the other times I really just need a nap.
Yeah.
It's really from the inside, though. From me, we are our hardest or
Own worst
worst
enemy.
critic.
worst enemy, exactly.
Hardest critic.
So that's my thing, is that no one's really shaming me, but I shame myself. And then, I have had pasts where I've been bullied for my epilepsy, been told that I'm fake my seizures, and that's something that just kills me,
ridiculous, yeah.
because
Where'd that come from? Like, from what group? Like, where?
someone that it shouldn't have.
Like, an abusive relationship? You don't have to get into it.
Someone that I thought was gonna be like a new friend.
Okay.
And and I heard this later on in life, and it just really, people think I was stuck up because I wouldn't talk to them, when really I couldn't really talk, and I didn't remember them, and I couldn't remember them.
Yeah.
So I was very in my shell. I went from being a very outgoing person in high school to when I met my husband, I was very shy and very timid. I still am just trying to get out of my shell. It's hilarious because my husband tells me, he's like, you're so different now. Like, you're so much more funny. Like, or you're just so funny now. And I'm like, oh my God, like, thank you. Like,
speaking of that, do you ever play practical jokes?
Oh, I scare him all the time.
How do you scare him? What kind of jokes do you play on him?
No, I just like hide against, like, around the wall. I'm like, ah.
Oh, okay. I thought, like, I've played practical jokes for my situation all the time.
Oh, they would kill me.
I played a really bad practical joke in the beginning. When I first got hurt, I had a trach and I couldn't talk really. And my mom, because I had pneumonia, I kept locking up and I couldn't breathe. And my mom was always there every day, but like to the point where she'd ask me if I was okay way too many times, So I started like doing that,
Oh my God.
And, I started acting like I was going out and a nurse saw me do this one time. And I mean, I have not been scolded like that in forever. I mean, she lost it on me, and I never did it again. But and I've played other practical jokes, which I've actually learned hard lessons to, and I won't put it out there. But I was just curious if you ever played any practical jokes with your situation at all.
But no, but like there's things
for
that
you.
I'll make a
You're playing more
noise.
mature than I am.
I'll make something like, and people will be like, stop it, Destiny, stop it. And I don't know why, but they're like, you do that before you have a seizure, or you do that.
Oh, wow,
So there's things that I would do that I had no idea that affected them so much. Because the thing is, like, I don't know, for me with epilepsy, I feel like it's, and you guys might feel the same way, is everyone deals with it. Like, you know, it's not just an internal disability, because our family are the ones that have to take care of us. And
did you feel guilt about that? Because I felt guilt. I know he's felt guilt about it.
Oh, so much guilt. I feel so bad for like my younger sister. Okay. Because when I started having epilepsy, she was young and all the attention went on me.
What's the age difference between you guys?
3 years.
Okay.
And all the attention had to go on me. And I feel like she was like left alone to really grow up at a very vulnerable age.
Yeah.
And I have total guilt for that. I feel so bad that she had to grow up to take care of me, because if I had a seizure, she had to stop what she was doing to help me with my seizure and stay with me. And I didn't appreciate her because I don't know if I didn't know how to appreciate her. I didn't know what she was doing.
Yeah.
But I feel horrible.
What's your relationship now?
Oh my God, she's like my best friend. She is my best friend. I love her to death.
Well, it kind of brought you guys closer then, right? In the long run?
You know, it's like one of those like relationships when your mom's like, oh, you're going to be best friends one day. And we're like, no, we hate each other. And then like now here we are. Yeah, she's my best friend. And I tell her as much as I can how much I appreciate everything she's done for me. Yeah. And I try to, now that I'm able, I try to be the big sister in it, because there's so many years that I feel like she had to be the older one. And if you ask anyone, people always say that she looks older. But I feel like it's because she took that older sister role of taking care of me.
She just probably carries herself differently.
Yeah, with me. Yeah. And I was like the carefree. So that was, I mean, she got her license at 16 when I didn't have my license.
She was driving you around.
She was driving me around, you know. Yeah. So a lot different. But and too, like with my parents, like I always tell people with epilepsy, like, go give your parents a hug. You don't know what they're going through. Yeah. Like because we can't remember like the things that they see. Like we've never seen a seizure. Like they live with that. Like,
right.
And my mom and dad worry every time on the road. And for me, I'm like, it's normal. Like I'm fine.
Right.
But for them, you know,
you never know.
Yeah. But, so I feel like with, you know, epilepsy or any disability, it's like, it's a family, you know, like Absolutely. My husband. And that's why like, I love my husband so much, because he didn't have to be involved. He could have said no. Yeah. And he chose to stick around, and he was there at the worst part. And now, like, I don't know, like I feel like I can finally be the wife that he deserves, because I'm able. I'm actually like involved. And that's been a really amazing journey.
First of all, you've always been the woman you deserved. Yeah. Don't ever sell yourself short. Yeah. But I mean, it is such, you know, a family effort, especially, you know, in all cases of disabilities. Yeah. You know, a lot of people aren't so fortunate to have that family support. Yes. Is there anything that you would share, like with your family as a whole, like your parents, your husband, your sister, and you could tell them to express that kind of gratitude and just some of the things that, you know, you've kind of put on them, you know, like not intentionally, but just as a result of, you know, having epilepsy?
Honestly, I think I just owe them like literally my life in a way where I don't know, I guess I now see like I was in such denial for so long. And the funny thing is I'm going through the grief of my memory loss now. I'm just now going through it. Yeah. I'm going through everything. And this is something my parents, my family have been living with for 15 years. And I couldn't imagine having that weighing on them. Sure. Especially as your parents. I mean, they are like, you know, I'm not born with it, but I mean, I was born into it. So they're like, is it my fault? I know that they have some self-guilt. Like, you know, did we do this to her? And that was my thing with having my daughter, was like, I would not have kids if I knew that it was going to go down to my children. That was just not going to happen. Because I would never, ever like want to put this on anybody else. Yeah. I mean, I think with the people I talk to and work with, I tell them like, this is a blessing, because it is, now that it's you have epilepsy, but I would never wish this on my worst enemy.
For sure.
What was something you would tell somebody that is grown up with epilepsy or gets diagnosed at the same age as you? Like, what kind of advice would you tell them right off the bat?
What I normally say is, you're not normal, but that doesn't mean you're not going to live an amazing life, because at the end of the day, you're going to know the obstacles you had overcome to get where normal people do. And when you're sitting up there achieving those goals, you can look to your left and you can look to your right and know, I did it with my epilepsy and what that means to you. And it might take a little bit longer, but it's worth it. Like, and I think that's where I'm just, and really I say that to try to say that to myself. Yeah. Cause I'm in that boat right now of what's my purpose? Like what am I supposed to do? Because all my old dreams have diminished and I'm just finding this new destiny. And I'm really on this journey of what's my purpose? What's my destiny?
Yeah.
I had to do it.
Hey, that was a real good pun.
Yeah, it was.
You know, for me and for Destiny's Child.
Say my name,
Henley. That's amazing. So kind of tell us a little bit about, life today. What do you got going on? I mean, tell us about, being a doula and, what purpose are you working towards fulfilling these days?
So many part of my epilepsy, my mind is always distracted, and I feel like that's with my dreams. Me too. And goals. I just say to you, it's like, girl, what? Yes. Yeah. So right when I had my daughter, I had an unmedicated birth, and I realized how amazing it was and how important my doula was. I realized this is the career for me.
So you had no painkillers, nothing.
Yes.
And natural,
it was amazing.
And it wasn't super painful.
Oh, it was painful. I'm not gonna lie, and I wish I knew. Someone told me how painful it's gonna be. Yeah. I mean, they told me, but I don't know. Anyways, so I didn't really believe them. I guess
I've heard it's been compared to a guy stubbing his toe.
It's almost as bad. Maybe it might be a little, maybe a little less. Okay. Yeah. So I realized okay, this is the path for me, and I just need to find out how I'm going to be a doula. So I've been working on that, especially with quarantine. That's helped me a lot, give me time. And my biggest fulfillment is just knowing my rights as a mother in the birth room. And I realize so many women do not know their rights in the birth room. They're taking advantage.
What are you talking about
here?
The
easiest thing, being able to walk around your room, or changing positions when you have epidural, or being able to eat and drink when you're in labor. Yeah. A lot of the hospitals say, no, you can't eat, just in case you have an emergency cesarean. That is completely false. Yeah. You can eat. That's horrible to take away food from the mom. Yeah. Especially with me with epilepsy, my thing was I have to eat. You cannot take away my food.
Yeah. How long was your labor anyways?
Mine was from start to finish 17 hours.
Yeah, you're going to need to eat at some point.
Actually, I didn't want to eat too, which was hilarious. I wasn't hungry. But it was 10 hours intense in the hospital. And but what's funny is I didn't want epidural, but I'm a runner. So I'm with me, I know mind over matter. So my thing is always lying to myself. Whenever I'm in a race, I always tell myself only 3 more miles, when it's really 18 miles, right? Yeah. So in the birth room, I'm just tell me you're going to get the epidural. Just tell me. They're what? And I was I don't want to, just tell me. They're okay, we're calling it in. I'm okay. I needed to lie to myself to prepare me.
Jeez. Yeah.
So what's funny is that when the nurse is oh, don't worry. It's it's running a marathon right now. And I was no, it's not. This is not running a marathon. This is so much harder.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
So really, birth is just, I've taken so much of that into my life with running, with how I function as a runner, and as I function as an epileptic, because I can push myself, and I like to test my limits. And that was what I wanted to do with having unmedicated birth, is really tell my body no, shut up, you're doing this. Yeah. And that's what I've done with my epilepsy. I mean, walking down the aisle after a seizure the night before, I told myself no, we're walking down, let's do it. Put your big girl panties on, let's go. And so I really told myself if I could do that, I can do this.
Yeah. Well, one last topic I want to tackle here is, not just as an epileptic, but just as a mother. A lot of women deal with postpartum depression. Can you talk to us a little bit about postpartum and, some of the work that you're doing with that?
So postpartum is a very close topic to my heart because I've had postpartum depression. Women that have had PTSD or have had depression in the past are more likely to have PPD. So that was something I knew it could have happened. But also my anti-seizure medication actually is a mood changer. So it's actually called cuckoo Keppra because it makes you cuckoo. During my whole pregnancy, I would have images of me killing myself, and I'd have suicidal thoughts because of this medication. Jeez. That I had to push through because I knew that.
Visions or dreams?
Oh, I would literally have imagery of me walking in the kitchen, grabbing a knife, and I'd have to turn over, wake up my husband, like, help me, help me, help me. And I'm in bed. But I'm like, make it stop. And then it'd be gone.
Yeah.
So that's something that, I'm preparing for my next birth. Because, of course, people are like, oh, when are you getting pregnant again? I'm like, I'm preparing this by therapy now because I've gotten through PPD once.
Yep.
And I think the first thing is a lot of moms that have postpartum is they don't really know they do it. They have it. They just feel sad. They feel lonely. They feel not able.
Yeah.
And it's the people around them that would tell that something's wrong. Yeah. So for those, I would say if you're a loved one around a mom, like keep in mind those certain things because what's funny is you go to a postpartum doctor's appointment 6 weeks after your birth, and really they don't talk about postpartum at all.
Really?
They're like, oh, do you have any thoughts of like killing yourself or, it's sad and that's it. And then it's like, okay, we're going to show you how to test yourself for breast cancer. That's it. And it's like, okay, we need to talk. This is a issue. And it's not really being talked about. So in my community, I just started a postpartum support group that we are really lacking. And it's funny because I just did a video of it today that it was my second postpartum group and I was by myself. Yeah. But I know there's moms out there and it's hard as they know they need it. But first of all, it might be that they can't leave the house. They're scared to leave the house or they're uncomfortable
and COVID. You got that
with
too.
COVID, exactly.
Everything.
So I just tell them like I'm gonna keep on showing up. So that's one of the things I'm doing with the birth world is my postpartum support group and helping as many moms knowing their rights in the birth room.
Where can we find this at? Where do you post this to?
So right now I'm just working on just my Instagram, Destiney Wendt running.
I'll throw that up. It's right there.
I have Destiney Wendt dueling, but it's kind of unfinished.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like I said, I've been really just working on myself and I'm starting to get things together. I have a lot of dreams out there that I want to do, but the first thing first in any disability is you need to work on yourself before you can help others.
100%.
Man.
And
preach.
And I mean, I tell people, if you know someone with epilepsy, if you know someone that has birth questions, tell them reach out to me and I will help them out. But right now I can't reach myself out too far because I need to worry about me and my family first. So I can be the best advocate in all areas.
Good for you.
So yeah, I'm praying that by the next year we start doing some big things for epilepsy. I'm running for epilepsy, trying to get a marathon, and might have some big things with that. So
nice.
Well, we can't run, but maybe someone can push us in that marathon.
Yeah,
I'll push you. We can't
you.
Run, walk. We can all take a stand.
Yeah.
Right?
And this is probably a good time for us to stand right now. I've been sitting for a while.
And it shouldn't be hard.
No, it should be easy, right?
Easy.
Stand.
Easy.
Stand.
Easy.
Stand.
Check it out.
Yeah.
What we do couldn't be possible without the support of our sponsor, Easy Stand.
Thank you, guys.
Getting us up in those standing frames, getting the weight bearing. So many benefits out there. Just stretching your legs. Getting that bone density back up.
Yeah.
I mean, just
that
feeling
blood
tall,
flowing.
Sitting tall.
Like 6'5". Oof.
Tower. 6'5", 350. All of Sunny over here.
Don't be jealous, bro. Don't be jealous. Thanks, guys.
Anyways, yeah, we love what you guys do, but that's just it rings so true that no matter what you're doing, you got to take care of yourself first. And sometimes it's hard for us. We feel selfish almost doing that, but investing in oneself is something that will just return dividends over and over again. And you're not going to be good for those you love unless you can get yourself straight, so love what you're doing, and helping the community, helping yourself, get through something that, just so many of us can't even fathom, that's kind of why everyone freaks out, when they're around you and they see a seizure. It's something that's so foreign to them, but something that you've really kind of owned, championed, and now you're all doing amazing things. So
thanks, guys.
Yeah, we applaud your bravery just talking about it, coming on our show, telling your story.
And thank you guys for just letting me come on here and talk about epilepsy. I hope that this opens doors for my community with epilepsy to know that we can stand up for ourselves as well, seeing this podcast. So I really appreciate you guys, what you do, and having me on your show, and Ramsey, who kind of
Ramsey got on his own, did his own thing, but you know what, he had to take care of himself.
Yes.
Okay, you know what,
he's on the camera enough.
Please, he went and got hair and makeup, food back in his trailer.
We
literally had to pull in a full-on dog trailer for him to get groomed before.
Really
he wanted a certain amount of treats.
I gotta
he
ask,
wanted Fiji water in his bowl.
What commercials has he done?
Okay, so he's only done one so far. American Shaman. It's for CBD treats.
Okay.
So
how did that come about?
What's funny is we were in a coffee shop and I was just working, and this lady came up to me. She's like, "Hey, have you ever thought about your dog being like in commercials?" I'm like, "No." And he's like,
because he's really, really good looking.
Yeah. And so I was like, "Oh, okay. Like, but we're doing this commercial. Like, we want your dog." And I'm like, "Okay." So show up. Well, I thought it was just for him. I didn't know it was going to be both of us.
Oh, geez.
Commercial. And
so you made it in there too?
I did. I was a sidekick.
Do you have a little clip of that?
I do have a little. Yeah.
Could you show it? Like,
I can show it.
Okay, if we got it, then we're gonna throw a little.
Okay, I'll have to find it in my
awesome.
emails. But I'll definitely show that. And he's.
So did you both get paid for that, by the way?
Yeah, nice. I think we did. I don't. Nice. I think.
If anything, you probably got some good CBD out of it, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I did actually. Yeah. So, and it was great. He loved the treats, so it was all good.
Very cool.
Good stuff. Well, thank you so much for coming
guys.
on. You're amazing. It's Destiny that you came on here.
It was.
I think it went great.
I think it went
really
great.
We had a real good time. Yeah.
Wait, I'm gelling
really
on your
amazing.
shirt though.
Oh yeah.
She got us back with the puns.
Geez, she's the
nice.
She's like Magellan over there. See what I did there? Right on, man. Well, we love you guys. If you like this, please share it with people that could benefit from it. Subscribe to us. Hit that notification bell. We love you. Check in with us next week. Wheel World out.
Thanks.